David, you have already seen the language learners go online. You've seen it for years. Could you expand on these use cases and also tell us how you see the online learning functions evolve as we move on from this place?
Yeah, sure, Tanya. So as you say, we've been online for years now. And as I mentioned before, if folks can think of our course in these three blocks of the multimedia, the manuals, and then the classes. And really, what's really happened for us is that we started in 2004 by allowing students to first access the multimedia. Online digital books followed in about 2012, and online classes started fully in about 2013. So that was the progression, first with the multimedia, then with the manuals, and then into full-blown online classes. And then, of course, really the challenge has been to be at the forefront of leading-edge innovation to make sure that you're giving your students the best possible experience that they can have when interacting with you online. So that's just basically making sure that you've got, the best people and that you're really driving at the front leading edge of innovation to ensure that students are experiencing what they want to. So we've really developed the components of multimedia. That was probably, and that's what our students spend most of their time interacting with us is through the multimedia. And this is really a self-study element of interactive lessons, where the new language is presented and the students interact, and as they go, they can gauge themselves, and it enables the program will enable them to say yes, no, backwards, this is good. And so it's very, very interactive and allows the students to progress at their own pace, which is really, really important, because traditional language learning, you're in a group. Usually you'll progress at the pace of the fastest or the slowest, and everybody else in the middle sort of just has to try and make the best of it. But this is very personal. So we've developed the technology to enable it to be very specifically interactive with the student. We've developed it on a soap opera style, utilising the Friends sitcom concept, where people can develop very, very strong connections with the characters, and it makes it a much more sticky experience. So that's how we really develop the multimedia. The digital manuals, that's I think a bit more straightforward for folks to understand. This is what would typically have been a book, and now again you're making it much more interactive with links that can take you through to interesting content, and so it's very, very sticky for the students and much more interesting. And as I mentioned in the earlier question, the big area where we've seen huge development, and we can see even further, is how we make the online classes much, much more real life. And so that not only do you just interact with the student, but with the teacher, but you can interact with your fellow students in the way that you would do if you were in a physical setting. And that's really the key to making the online classroom experience as near to a real life one as we can imagine. And that is going to really unleash the potential of online learning for adults. Because at the end of the day, adults, we may think they're more disciplined, but actually they're not. With children learning English, or indeed children learning anything, there's always a parent standing over the shoulder, making sure that they're at the screen at the right time, and that they ensure that they do the homework, etc. For adults, we've always seen the story, and we've all probably been through it ourselves, where we get very, very enthusiastic with our New Year's resolution to learn a new language or go to the gym. And at the beginning, we're really good, but then as time goes by, we drift off and we do other things. So if we can make the experience with the students, or for the students, that much better, more sticky, more engaging, then that, of course, is going to help with efficacy and how the students learn. So that's how we've seen online learning develop for us over the past few years. And then turning to growth, there's probably about three areas that I can see that we see real opportunity for. I mean, one is to move into the area of just pure online only. As I mentioned earlier, we're a blended learning solution where we give students the choice. You can come to the centre, or you can do it online. And there's a big tranche of the market who like that and like to have the flexibility if they're traveling or if they're not feeling very well, they want to study at home, but they also know they can come to the centre and meet their friends. But of course, we also know there's a big market that are just purely online. So we'd really like to see how we can develop that and develop our geographic reach rather than having to sort of build a physical centre and then, you know, you've got a radius around that centre where you can pull students. Obviously, if we can develop our blended methodology more effectively in an online environment, that would obviously give us a much wider revenue reach. So we're really, the key to that is going to be efficacy, because that's really something that we really pride ourselves on, which is we always want to ensure and prove that our students can learn, and we've got the best in class efficacy experts and processes in place so that we can demonstrate that if the student follows our method, they will learn. And that's a very important feature. And again, for our staff, it makes them feel very proud of who they're working for. And then what we also want to, beyond the wholly online, could we develop a whole broader range of optional or supplementary classes for students, rather than just general communicative English to help them improve their general career prospects? Could we give specific industry content? Could we give coaching sessions? Could we do webinars where we could bring certain groups together that have specific interests? So again, technology will allow us to unleash better segmentation of our wider audience, so that we can bring like minds together to experience very specific content that they particularly want. And then really, how can we hyper-personalise so that we can get very adaptive courses? Because every student, as I mentioned earlier, is different, and they all have their own interests, their own willingness to study, their own rate of progress. If you can make the technology much more adaptive and interactive, you can tailor the content rather than the content being kind of a block, which is what it is at the moment, and then the students could interact in their own way. If we can make the content more fluid to adapt to the students' needs and desires, then we're going to get the perfect outcome, because you've got the student and then the content itself both adapting to each other in a very personalised basis. And that's the way that we see how we can be even more efficacious, and how we can make it more sticky for students to enjoy. And of course, that means being again at the leading edge of technology and AI to make sure that we can give that experience to our students. So that's how I see how we've developed and how I see the future in online, Tanya.
Thank you, David. That was really interesting. You guys really had a benefit of gradual on-ramp and learning about online interactions, going from streaming probably to, or going from media packets to streaming to interactive, and now going beyond with the interactive experience. I bet there are a lot of educators who would like to pick your brain today.
Sure. Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's super interesting to listen to you.